Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Bacon and Coffee. I'm excited to be here. I have an incredible guest. His name is Mark S.A. Smith, and we're going to get started in a minute, but we have to start with our 30-second countdown. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Bacon and Coffee. I love these so much because I get to talk with some really incredible people. But before we get started, we need your jolt of bovine and caffeine. Here it comes, my friends. People could see you going, "Pooh."
I love it every time. But what I liked is that at the last shot, you've got you've got the coffee mug, and the backside it said guests. But I am so honored to have my own branded
You
coffee
know,
mug.
yeah, when you're special, you get your own. When you come on the Bacon podcast, especially what is it now, 19, 20 times? I don't know, 30 times. You've been on so many. Actually, you're in the 25 club, which means that you're at the quarter century mark of appearances on my shows, which is by far there's nobody even close. And there's a reason for that. We had a
Yeah,
conversation.
I'm a
We
bug.
actually, yeah, yeah.
I say,
You do.
Brian, do I get to come on your show again?
Yeah, you do move a lot, kind of like a bug, and you're trying to swat it, it's like, where are you now? It's like now you're in the Blue Ridge Mountains today. Is that correct? Or
Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains, that's
Yeah.
right.
I'm in the Great Smoky Mountains, and my mama once asked me. She said, "I wonder why they're called the Great Smoky Mountains." And I said, "Mom, it's because nobody would ever show up for the average Smoky Mountains."
That is true. Your mom, God rest her soul, who is an
Indeed.
amazing person,
Indeed.
definitely had wisdom beyond her years.
She did, and I was thinking about her today, and just to get it personal for just a moment,
Yeah, go
listener.
ahead.
The reason why is because my mother passed away 2 weeks ago, and I was sitting at her side holding her hand when she did, and so I'm going through that grief wave, but way more positive memories than negative memories. And my mother was one of the most she was the greatest example of humility I've
Hmm.
ever seen, in that her entire focus was on somebody else,
Right.
rarely on herself. And that's what that's what humility really means. It's not about thinking about yourself less, but about thinking others more.
Yes, and it's funny. I have this story, very similar story. Is my mother actually died of breast cancer, which turned
Mm.
into bone cancer back in like 1985. It was a long time ago. But one of my high school friends was actually her caregiver at the time. And, my mom is sitting down eating lunch, and I went into the kitchen and I made myself a sandwich, right? And my mother, looking at me making the sandwich, and her caregiver walks in the room and says, "Brian, give her your sandwich." And I said, "Okay," I gave her the sandwich. Well, funny thing is she went to high school with me and we're connected on Facebook. And she just popped up one day and said, "I so remember your mother always
Mm.
being willing to give of herself even when she was sick. And I remember you had to give me a sandwich once, which you did not seem happy about." But, that's the kind of lesson that mom taught me. It's like, you know what? Givers gain. It's what you
That's right.
do. You
Givers
take care
gain.
of others, they'll take care of you. And that's what we're here to talk about
It
today.
is. This is the perfect setup for our conversation today.
Yeah, it's about becoming a trusted advisor. Now, before
Yes.
we get started with that, I want to give you a quick bacon story. We all know, in the current environment, and it could be long term, could be short lived. Who knows? Things change so damn fast. But the price of bacon has skyrocketed. I went online, ordered some bacon. It was like $8, for 12 ounces. I mean, it's
Mm.
like it's probably $15 a pound. I don't know. It was, it's expensive, but so I went to get my license plate renewed, and on my license plate it says bacon. I was able to get that vanity plate. And so I show up and, I say, okay, here's my thing. And she goes, okay, that'd be $200, sir. And I said, damn, I know the price of bacon went up, but seriously, she just looked at me and started cracking up.
Oh my.
Yes.
Yeah. A slice of license plate and a slice of bacon are now $200
Yeah,
each.
exactly. It's amazing, but that's okay. But what we're here to talk about today is becoming a trusted advisor. And
Yes.
you know me, I'm Captain Know Like and Trust. I mean, I've
Yes.
always talked about that all the time, is how you build know like and trust. And we'll define that later. We'll talk through that.
Yeah.
But I think the first thing we have to do is kind of lay out when we say trusted advisor and building trust, because I mean, it's one thing to be an advisor or a coach or something like that, but a trusted advisor has a slightly different angle to it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's the goal of most salespeople. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a trusted advisor, and they see that as creating a competitive advantage, which it does when you do it correctly. And we're going to actually talk about why it's important. Of course, you probably know that, and how to position yourself as a trusted advisor, and more importantly, what not to do as a trusted advisor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well put. So, one of the things in my journey this year, I've been going over a lot of psychological stuff, trying to get inside of people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was able to do was kind of define know, like, and trust in a business sense that I think makes sense. And you tell me what you think, okay?
All right, bring it on.
So we know what know, like, and trust is, and trust is the goal. That's where transactions happen, right? But know is, to me, is you meet somebody, you know of them, you know who they are, but they provided you enough value in a short period of time. You met
Mm-hmm.
him at a networking meeting, you saw him on a Zoom, that person turns into what I call CRM worthy. All
Yes.
right. Meaning that you want to capture data so that you can remember them better, where you met them, what business are they in? They may be a good fit for some other client or something like that.
That's it.
So once you meet somebody, you had a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Once they become CRM worthy, then there's that no, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to get to the like means that you take the connection to another level.
Yes.
So, for example, you like playing guitar. I like playing guitar. You like
Indeed.
eating breakfast with bacon. I like eating breakfast with bacon, sometimes sausage. It doesn't
And
matter.
coffee.
Right, exactly. Lots of coffee, right? It's all about, it's all about the bacon coffee mug. But so what happens is you connect again, right? You
That's it.
connect online. You maybe connect with them on LinkedIn. You maybe get them on your email list or something like that. But the key thing is you start to develop, some kind of thing that makes you want to have deeper conversations with them. So you may sit down and have a coffee at a Starbucks. You may do a Zoom one-on-one meeting with them. But the bottom line is you're willing to invest some time with them because there's some commonality in there. It could be business commonality. They sell to your audience and you sell to their audiences and you don't compete, or maybe you cross over where you could actually help each other. So now what you're doing is you're amplifying that like to a point where now they are CM worthy. You have a one-on-one meeting with them and you're continuing the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The trust portion happens when you do business with them, they do business with you, or you find them referral worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by referral worthy means that, like, for example, I may not need a contractor to come out and clean my carpets, but I know somebody who has done it for other people that I know, and they just rave about that person, their integrity, their quality, all that stuff. So they become a trusted person. So when somebody goes into my Facebook group and says, does anybody know a landscaper, a carpet person, somebody come and stage your Christmas decorations, whatever that is, I have a trusted person, so I can provide value with that person. I trust them enough to put my reputation on the line. Now, the one thing about referrals is I tend to give 2 to 3 referrals minimal.
Mm-hmm.
When I refer somebody, always going to do it in pairs, because if you refer one person and that person doesn't work out for the other person, your reputation takes the hit.
That's right.
They say, you don't know who what you're talking about. This person didn't get along.
That's right.
And So, but if you give two people, if you give three people, you say, here are three different people. I suggest you contact each one of them and see which one is the best fit, right?
Right. Right.
And so again, I'll go off on a tangent later on this, but I
Oh,
wanted
why
to get
wait?
your yeah. Well, no, we always do, because I want to talk about my trip down to Raleigh and what happened as
Yeah.
we get deeper into this. But how do you feel about that? What does that say to you?
Well, I'm in agreement with you. You know, once you know somebody, and know is one of those things that develops just like is, and trust is something that develops. Initially, it's, I know who you are. I have a feeling for your personality. I have a feeling for your integrity, and that knowing increases over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like is, you and I have elements that reinforce each other's self identity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important for our viewer to understand that liking is around reinforcement of self identity. If somebody does something that destroys or diminishes your self identity, we don't like those people.
Right.
I don't like you because you made me feel less of a person. And if it reinforces yourself, and I like them because I feel better
Mm-hmm.
when I'm with them, I feel better. So I understand that self identity is a critical component of liking. And then, of course, trust. The idea behind trust is simply this: as we increase trust, it decreases the requirement to validate or do due diligence before we engage in with a person where there may be potential loss of resources, whether it's time, energy, self-reliance, self-importance, any of those elements, money, of course. And so trust is the accumulation of those things, yet understand that how we build trust is through increasing knowledge, increasing liking, which results in increasing trust. So they are connected together, they are interweaved. And know and like is the beginning of trust.
Absolutely. So, I think one of the things is a process. And of course, we see this all the time. I'm in the middle of working on an ebook. And, I'm trying to explain to people the concepts,
Mm-hmm.
of why this works, how it works, what it does. But one of the things that, I try to define is the difference between a prospect and a lead.
Mm-hmm.
A lead is somebody who is heart beating, has money, and maybe in your potential purview. A
Mm-hmm.
prospect is somebody who's already engaged with you in one way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
whether they've engaged with you just by liking your content or whether they filled out a form on your website. But they become somebody that is worth nurturing, where leads are basically just dialing for dollars. And I equate that to, why do people call up random numbers spoofed with a car warranty, saying, hey, we want to talk about your car warranty.
Those are all absolute spam. It's amazing how many alerts I'm getting for my car being out of warranty.
Right. But you don't have a car, you don't even have a car. You got a truck, right?
I've
And it's
got a
like,
truck.
right. And,
Yes.
I mean, it's like people who they have no idea whether you have a car or not, So what they're doing is they're
It's
basically
just,
cold calling and
yeah.
pitching. And the only reason they do it is because the cost of actually doing it is less than the money that they make on this. Whether it's a scam or whether it's legit, there's still a business case to make on it. But that is the thing that I think that most people have to understand about know, like, and trust and becoming a trusted advisor is you can't circumvent the know and like.
No,
You have, right?
actually, you can.
Really?
Really,
Wow. I
really,
learned something
you
today.
can, and two circumstances.
Okay.
Number one is where you have a need, and somebody who you have a high level of trust with recommends that you use somebody who they have a high level of trust with. So there's a trust transfer
Right.
from that person you trust to them. That'll substantially shorten the trust building cycle.
Right.
The second is in the case of an emergency. If you have cut yourself and you are bleeding, you will go to the closest hospital, whether you know them, like them, or trust them, or not.
Right. Very true. Yeah.
So, in the case of an emergency, trust disappears because the risk of inaction is way higher than the risk of wrong action.
Right.
And wrong action is one of the reasons, avoiding wrong action is one of the reasons why we need trust. It helps us avoid wrong action.
Right. So, and I agree with you on both of those points. I think those are
Yeah,
very
they're
key. Yeah.
exceptions, but
Yeah.
we need to call them out just to make the perspective
Right.
complete.
Yeah. The point I wanted to make is that, cold calling is cold calling. And what happens on, LinkedIn and other things is people do what they call connect and pitch. They
Hmm.
send you a message and say, "Hey, Mark, how you doing? I see that we have similar people that we know in our organizations or connections.
Right.
And, I'd love to connect with you. Let's connect." Right.
Right.
Now, most people will say, "Oh, this person knows people that I know," and they just click the connect button. I take it one step further, is actually go look at their profile and see how many people we have in common. And usually it's one or zero.
Yeah.
It's more often than not one. They find one person and want to
Right.
connect. And so then after they do that, then they pitch, and then they may do it the same day, or they may wait, maybe they've been instructed to wait 3 days, and they come back and say, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation to find out more
Uh-huh.
about what you do and how you can engage with my business." And it's what
Yes.
they're really saying is, "I want to listen to you for 5 minutes so I can pitch you for 25
Right.
and tell you about me." And so that again, is kind of all the games, no matter how you put, perfume on that pig, it's still not going to taste like good bacon. I mean, have you ever had perfume on a bacon? Like Alice
No.
at the restaurant serves you something and her perfume wafts over your bacon, and
No.
oh man, it's just nasty.
No. The only perfume I don't want on my bacon is smoke.
Yeah, there you go. Or applewood, right?
Oh
Applewood.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So let's get down to brass tacks, because
All
we
right.
are talking about trusted advisors. And so there are 4 basic levels to get to trusted advisors. And I think
Indeed.
it's 3 plus the bonus, but wait, there's
It
more,
is.
right?
That's right. 3 plus the bonus. And so it starts off with trusted brand.
Mm-hmm.
And a trusted brand is something you typically buy habitually, and you purchase it because you have a consistent customer experience when you purchase that brand. And this is a tactical type of purchase. So you walk up to your vending machine and you select your favorite your favorite drink. You push the button. You expect for it to taste a certain way. And so that's a trusted brand. When you go to McDonald's, that really is what you're looking at, as a trusted brand, because
Right.
McDonald's has a menu that's consistent across the world for the most part, quite consistent. With the exception of McRib, you have to sort of search that one out if you want that particular piece of bacon.
Yep.
But
By
in
the way, I
general,
love McRibs.
oh, do you? All
Yeah,
right.
I know it's bad for you. I know it's terrible, but it's one of those things. I will have one a year.
Hey, everything's bad for you, if you have too much. But if it makes you happy, enjoy it,
Right.
please. I had a friend that recently went from vegan to omnivore
Really?
because she missed all the great foods.
Hey, you know,
Anyway,
that's the one thing about bacon, is it will make you change gods.
it will make you, without a doubt, it is the gateway meat.
Yes. Awesome. All
My
right.
mother wouldn't eat pork, but she would eat bacon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway. So the point here is that you start off with a trusted product, but the product is tactical. It's a brand, and I'm gonna pull my notes up here. We'll get to that in a moment. Yes, indeed. So it's a trusted brand, and the idea there is to sell a trusted product. You have to know the product, so that you can present the product to people in the way that they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
The next level up is a trusted vendor. So a vendor is somebody who provides product to a particular market, and this is a case where the buyer, the products are bought. So the buyer shows up, the customer shows up and says, "I want that, I want that, I want that." There really is no selling involved. It really is more of a marketplace where they go and buy these things. And this is also tactical. It's not strategic at all. It's just tactical. And the secret to doing this well is to know the market. So when you're a trusted vendor, you have to understand your market to supply them with what they need to fulfill their requirements and their desires. And by doing that, you'll become a trusted vendor. And a trusted vendor is somebody like Walmart or Target or King Soopers or Safeway or Kroger.
Right.
We're talking about consumer goods in this particular case.
Well, and it could even be, a trusted vendor could be, whether you use GoDaddy or some other service to
Right
get
on.
your domain names, or whether you use, A2 hosting or Bluehost or, HostGator or whatever it is, whatever you trust, That's where you're going to spend your time and energy. And the bottom line, they all tend to be very similar in price. They're
That's right.
partially price driven.
Yeah,
They're
well,
partially
they have to
service
be
driven.
competitive. They have to be
Right.
competitive.
Exactly. Yep. So that's one of the keys, I think, to understanding. You got to when you're getting into that vendor side of things, it's a commodity, like you said. It's almost consumerism,
Well,
or it
it
could
is.
be.
It still is because
Hmm.
customers know what they want to buy.
Right.
So they go in with a shopping list. That's what a vendor does. It provides a shopping list. And of course, if there are other things in there that they haven't bought before, there's a high probability they'll buy it from that vendor. A good example of that is Trader Joe's. If you're a Trader Joe's aficionado, you know that virtually everything in the store is house brand. But the probability of being satisfied by that house brand is high. Now,
Hmm.
while it may not exactly align with the flavor of a national brand, it may be close enough to be acceptable. I like Trader Joe's ketchup just as well as I like other ketchups. It tastes close enough that I'm happy with that. I like
Hmm.
Trader Joe's mustard just as much as I like French's mustard. And so when I go to Trader Joe's, I typically use the house brands, and as long as it satisfies my need, I'm going to buy from Trader Joe's. I'm going to buy a Trader Joe's. That's a great example of a trusted vendor,
Hmm. Yep.
where everything in their catalog is acceptable to you or close enough. And of course, if you don't like something that you buy from Trader Joe's, they'll give you your money back. So low risk, which
Right.
increases trust.
Right. Exactly. Hmm.
So for these first two layers, trusted brand and trusted vendor, the way that you sell in these environments is pretty much hustle.
Hmm.
Right? You make sure you have it in the face of the consumer where they need it, when they need it, how they need it. And in both of these cases, it's really about know the product.
Right.
Know the product.
So it's not as much based on relational kind of things. It's more based on advertising kind of things.
I'd say it's based on a consistent customer experience.
Right. Yeah.
This
And
is this is branding for a product and branding for a vendor.
yeah. I mean, there are certain relational things, if you go to Trader Joe's and you see the same checkout lady all the time, it's nice. I mean, that's a
Well,
consistency thing.
but that's moving into the next layer
Right. Exactly.
because we have a personal relationship as we move up the trust chain.
Right.
Down the trust chain, you don't have a relationship with a person. You have a relationship with a company or a particular brand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the difference. And at these lower levels, if something goes wrong, you don't have high loss. It's not like you can't recover in a minute. If you get a Coke that's not cold, you can set it aside and go get another one or get a cup of ice. It's not a big deal to fix the problem.
Right.
If you go into Walmart and they don't have what you want, you can go into Target and probably find it, or you might go on Amazon and you can probably find it. So there's the cost of failure is low at this level of trust.
Yep.
So we don't need a lot of trust.
Right. So moving up the food chain to
All right, the next level up is trusted advisor. Now, in the world of sales, person-to-person sales, whether it's B2B or B2C, doesn't really matter. This is where salespeople start to get involved. And I talk to salespeople all the time. They say, how can I be a trusted advisor? And well, the first thing is that a trusted advisor is an attribution. You cannot say, I want to be your trusted advisor, or you cannot say, I'm a trusted advisor. Can't do it. Don't do it. If you say it, it'll blow your credibility. It is an attribute, just like thought leader is an attribute. I cannot claim that I'm a thought leader. Now, you can say, Mark, you're a thought leader, in which case I can say Brian Basilico says that I'm a thought leader. I can do that, but I can't say I'm a thought leader. Same way with guru. I cannot claim that I'm a guru. Anybody who says I'm a guru, I'm a thought leader, I'm a trusted advisor, they're full of themselves.
yes, and some other stuff. And speaking of, and since you were talking about gurus and Trader Joe's and mustard and ketchup, okay, what did the guru? Here, I got to do this. What did the guru say to the hot dog vendor?
Make me one with everything.
Yes, sir.
I love it. One with everything.
Mhm,
The yogi, the guru. Yes, they want to become one with everything.
Yes.
I
So,
love it, my friend. Thank you for setting up that.
oh, boom! It was a softball I had to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I love the concept you talk about, that you cannot label yourself as that as much as we want to. You have to get other people to call you a thought leader, which means that you have to actually lead in thought, and you
Right.
have to get them to think it,
Yes.
right?
And a good question is, what is the statute of limitations on thought leadership?
5 minutes, 30
About,
seconds, eight, eight
about,
seconds.
about. There is expiration dates in thought leadership, some faster than others.
Yeah.
You have to, if you're going to be a thought leader, you have to continually provide thought leadership.
Well, and the other thing too is you have to continually think and learn. I mean, to thought leadership means that you've learned something that other people don't know, and you're teaching that to them. You're giving them some information that they don't have.
Yes.
Otherwise, and that's one of the things that you see in business a lot, is people tend to ride on their laurels. They get some success and they keep talking over and over and over again. They're no longer leaders; they're just regurgitators, right?
Yes, and I can think of a lot of very famous authors with
Hmm.
that particular frame around them. Many, many, many. Yeah, thought leadership, the important element is that for thought leadership to occur, you have to be thinking thoughts that
Hmm.
nobody else has had before.
Right.
Otherwise, you're talking thought followership. And a very, very famous, very, very rich motivational speaker who we would all know if I mentioned his name, because he's a giant in the industry, has no thought leadership. Every word he utters came from somebody else.
Hmm.
Every one.
Yeah.
And
Which is
that's,
synthesis. When you listen to audiobooks, it's funny how you can listen to a series of audiobooks. I use Blinkist, and it's funny how, each one of them have a component from the one before.
yeah.
It's like everybody is synthesizing the same information, just putting a different spin on it.
Indeed. And that's okay. It's okay for you to bring incremental innovation to thought leadership. But the point
Right.
is that if you're going to be a true thought leader, you have to be presenting ideas that nobody's heard of before or thought of before,
Right.
and which blows up the idea that there's nothing new under the sun. Yes, there is for thought leaders.
Oh yeah, there's tons. I mean, there's tons of
Oodles,
new stuff. Yes.
oodles, and oodles, and oodles. And a
And
really great
one.
example of that is, you're a musician. You've heard of Haydn.
Yep. Hmm.
And the classical composer from the 1700s who taught a lot of the classical composers after him. And he was really good at inventing new themes, melodic lines that were unique, fresh, interesting.
Hmm.
And somebody once asked him, how do you come up with these amazing melodies? And he says, I sit down and I try to think of a song that I've never heard before.
Mm.
And that's thought leadership. And
Yes.
many, many, many people in the classical music world wrote variations on a theme from Haydn. So he became the guy that everybody else covered.
which totally makes sense. So let me jump back just one step and kind of build on
Indeed,
what you're
indeed.
saying.
I interrupted you in the midst of something important.
No, no,
Carry
no.
on.
Well, I want to remember this because I belong to. It's funny. I belong to a group, and I joined it. It's a networking group, and I love the group, by the way, and the people in it are fabulous. It's called Trusted Advisors Council.
Hmm.
And so when you walk in there, it has the feeling that everybody in there is a trusted advisor, right? And if you're accepted to the group, you should be considered a trusted advisor. But here in reality land, what it boils down to is it's still going to take 6 months to a year to 2 years to become trusted enough to advise somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key that I think that's important, is the investment
Yes,
of time.
it is, especially in a long sales cycle.
Right.
It's going to take you a while, which means that every time you have a conversation with that person, you have to bring them thought leadership.
Exactly.
Every conversation has to increase their awareness and knowledge of the solution you can offer. That's how
Absolutely.
we get there. Now, we can get there a lot faster if their decision making process has a tight deadline and they're uncertain. In
Right.
which case, the growth of trust is going to be driven primarily by their need to trust you,
Right.
not by your desire for them to trust you, but by their need to trust you.
Right.
That's an important insight.
Right. So back to your original point, is a trusted advisor is a label, a moniker, a merit badge that only the person talking to you can give you.
That's right. Every individual has to decide whether you're a trusted advisor or not.
Hmm.
Indeed. And a trusted advisor, this is where we get into the territory of the products are sold. In other words, you're initiating the conversation with the customer or the prospect. versus them initiating the conversation. That gets you down to a trusted vendor. If they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, I want to buy this from you, you're not a trusted advisor, versus, hey, where you go in and say, are you trying to solve this problem? Well, let me give you some insight. That's the differentiation.
Right.
And in this case, we're starting to move into strategic land. And the reason why is because for you to be successful as a trusted advisor, while product knowledge is important, what's even more important is know the customer.
Right.
Customer knowledge trumps product knowledge when it comes to a trusted advisor. Because otherwise, you're just doing the spray and pray methodology of, let me tell you everything I know about my products and my industry, and I'll let you kind of sort out all these bits and
Yeah.
pieces. People don't have time for that. They don't know how to make the judgment. They don't have the criteria to make judgments in that area. So
Right.
instead, you need to understand your customer, know your customer. This takes us back to the know portion of know, like, and trust.
Right.
The know your customer becomes more important as we develop that trust.
And one of the salespeople I talked to called what you said the spray and pray method is show up and throw up.
Oh yeah, yeah. That makes a real mess that nobody wants to hang around.
Exactly. So yeah. So
No. That's
Right.
the hustle, right?
Yes.
The spray and pray, show up and throw up is hustle, and that doesn't work if you want to be a trusted advisor.
Right. So continue to dig into strategery.
Yeah, strategery. Yes, indeed. So know the customer, and well, let's move up to the next level, and then we can put a bow around both of these levels at the same time. The next level up, which is the most desirable, is trusted partner. And the difference between a trusted advisor and a trusted partner is a trusted advisor is called in to purchase a particular product or solution. Versus a trusted partner is called in even before the sale is even being considered. We're trying to figure out what our options are.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know our options. And so we'd like to call you in to educate us on how to buy in your area of expertise. We may or may not buy from you. Most likely we will, because we trust you to provide us with solid advice on how to make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
In a trusted partner environment, you have to have the capacity to talk about your competitors, other options without negative influence.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have, say, here's the dynamic range. This is the range of things that you can consider. And it's okay for you to say, and the reason why I represent this set of products is because of these elements.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly acceptable, but you cannot denigrate any of the competitive strategies. That's up for the customer to do.
Right.
As I tell my coaching clients, you do not pay me to make decisions.
Right.
You pay me for perspective so you can make the right decision for yourself.
Right. And that I think is such a key important issue is, like, for example, if you could say, let's talk about, web hosting again, going back to that. As a trusted advisor, say I sell, A2 hosting because I think it's the best.
Yeah.
It just happens.
And my suggestion is actually use the word I represent versus
I represent.
sell. Yeah.
Right. I represent. I suggest I represent.
Yep.
So
right.
and so.
Mm-hmm.
But a trusted partner, they walk in and say, one of the things that we're looking at is how do we improve, the speed and visibility of our website. Okay, which are two different things. Okay, well, let me talk about speed. There is an incredible thing out there called WP Engine. Now, I don't work with that, but it's incredibly fast. And if you want that speed, it does a great job, but that's not something that I do. I tend to work in the area of A2, which is a little bit more expensive than some of the competitors, but I love their customer service. So I want to make sure that you get the best service, and that I can vouch for. Then you can get to, if you want cheap, then go to, GoDaddy or, HostGator or some of these other ones where they're all going head to head on price, but you may end up paying more in the long run because they'll all upsell you everything. And I don't like the upsell process. So you have those three choices, right? So that to me is, as a partner, you're walking in saying, I don't care which one you go with, but this is what is available to you. And if you need one of those three things, I could put you in touch with those, whether we do something or not. Now, let me get back to one other thing, and then we'll kind of move on to the next piece of this, the race portion. And that is, so I went down to Raleigh, North Carolina, And my goal was just to go meet some people and scope out the area and have some fun. And somebody locally here in Chicago who I know recommended a real estate agent who said she knows people down in Raleigh who are other real estate agents who can kind of give me the sense of what's happening in the area in case we want to move down there, right? So I get two names and I call up the first woman and she says, "Hi, what are you looking for? How much you want to spend?" "Oh, you're going to have a hard time finding that. There's just not a lot. Those things are selling really, really fast. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you just a bunch of lists and you tell me what you like. We'll see what we can do." Right? Okay. And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, thank you. Thank you." The second person, I said, "Okay, here's what we're looking for. Here's how much we potentially want to spend. We don't know where we want to move. We're just trying to get a sense, just the area, what's going on." She says, "What are you doing Monday at 10?" And I said, "Nothing." She says, "Okay, where are you at?" I said, "At such and such place." She says, "Okay, there's a Panera over there. I'll meet you there." And she came, sat down, obviously bought me a drink. I tried to buy her a drink for her time. And, we sat down and we talked and she explained everything. But more importantly, the most important part of this is she said, "I don't care whether you work with me or not. You're never going to get rid of me. But let me tell you what I bring to the table." And that is, I bring, I've got trusted partners who can do home inspections, lawyers, mortgage brokers who will help you guide you through the process. And these are people I know, like, and trust. So even if you don't work with me, I've got this entire array of people at my fingertips. So one of the things that told me is one person was interested in the transaction, which is more of the brand, back towards that product,
Right.
and then this other person was more of that trusted partner
Yes.
who didn't care whether she got a sale or not. What she cared about was helping me achieve my goal so that even if I didn't use her, I might recommend her to somebody else the way that she got recommended, right?
Well, of course. Well, and those of us who position ourselves as trusted partners are going to do business with our customers way often than not, just because we're already in alignment in many elements where what we bring to them from a solution standpoint is going to be acceptable. I think
Right.
it's important to point out that the first realtor was in the business of selling a house. And the
Hmm.
second realtor was in the business of providing you with home ownership.
Right.
And they're very different approaches because she's going to provide you everything you need to have a successful transaction and move into the house of your dreams into the southeast. And what a
Right.
glorious, lovely thing. You're not going to have to put up with ice storms all the time and taxes that are out of the crazy. And you're going to move to a part of the country where people are genteel, and not that where you aren't isn't necessarily, but
Right. And the key thing is that they probably both have the same resources.
well, they do because they'll have access to the MLS.
Right. Well, it's not just the houses I'm talking about. They probably have other trusted
Oh, sure.
advisors,
True.
but
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
yeah,
yes. Yeah.
but
Right.
one came the other way. So let's take that and kind of build on. So we understand the four sections, the
Well,
product.
I want to add just two more minor
Okay.
refinements before we move to how do we become a trusted advisor.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So when it comes to being a trusted partner, your goal is to know the customer's customer.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas as a trusted advisor, it's to know the customer. Whereas with a trusted vendor, it's to know the market. And with a trusted product, it's to know the product.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go up to the level of trusted partner, your job is to know the customer's customer, which is what is the end result your customer wants to get with their customer.
Right.
And this brings up the concept people frequently say, "Mark, how can I beat my competition?" And you're asking the wrong question. The question is, how can you help your customer beat their competition?
Right.
That's how you become a trusted partner.
Amen, brother.
In your particular case, it's about not just buying a house, but buying a house that you and your wife and your dog will love.
Exactly.
It's going to be the whole package, just not you, but your customers, the people in
Right.
your life that are important. Then the other thing I want to point out is that we talked about for trusted product and trusted vendor. What you do is you have to hustle. Hustle is the methodology to sell at those levels and know the product. At these top two levels, hustle's not what you want. What you want is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
It's curiosity, not hustle, that moves you into these upper two levels, because the idea is you have to know the customer and know the customer's customer. At the trusted partner level, hustle is toxic.
Right. Yep. Totally makes sense.
Don't do that.
No,
And
bad.
it's one of the reasons why salespeople who are very very successful hustling will absolutely fail when they move up to these upper levels of trusted advisor and trusted partner. Do not hustle, because sages abhor hustle.
Ooh. And gurus.
And gurus, yeah. All right,
So,
so
well,
there we go.
before you jump
That's
on
the
that,
setup. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
setup.
before you jump on that, the one thing I want to say is that one of the things I've identified in my business is I have 3 clients of everything that I do. All right. The first client is the person paying the bill, and my only job is to help them communicate and sell more products to their clients. In other words, they have to make more money that they're spending and be happy with the process and understand what's going on. That is the most important thing. The second client that I have is the people that work for me, the contractors who come in and actually perform the tasks. And they need to be educated, informed. I need to treat them the same way that I treat my clients, because I need to make them successful so that they can make more money and they're happy with the process. Because if you do that, then they make the client happy with the process and what they deliver, right? And then the last thing on that totem pole is me.
Absolutely.
And I need all of the above, right?
And they all have to be aligned.
Right, exactly. And that, I think, is key when you sit down and you look at a business. I think all of those things are uber important, because I've listened to so many books that say, make your employees happy and your customers will be happy. Make your customers happy and your employees will be happy. And no, I think there's a definite process, especially when we're talking about this level, right?
There is. And a lot of people say, the most important part of your business is your employees. And unfortunately, that means that you're a slave to your employees. The most important part of your business is your culture.
Right.
Because you'll find the right people if you have the right culture. And your customers are buying the brand that your culture installs.
Absolutely.
So once you get the culture wired, then your people become important. But not until.
Right. Okay, so it's hard to believe that we've been at this for over 40 minutes, and that means we have to run a race. Because,
okay, let's run a race.
Yeah, so we got to run a race. So let's jump into the race, my friend.
so RACE is the acronym that I use to help people understand how to develop trust as fast as humanly possible. We've actually done a show on RACE, but this one we're applying specifically to how do you create trust as a trusted advisor or a trusted partner, depending on your position in the marketplace. And let's just talk for a moment about trust. Trust is earned over time. Over time.
Yes.
High levels of trust come only after consistent performance over time. And we've talked about the two exceptions to that rule, which is transfer of trust or an emergency situation. But otherwise, it has to be earned over time. You don't get it on a single call. Sorry, that's not the way it's going to work.
Amen. Preacher, brother. Preach it.
Indeed. I'm singing to the preacher here. So the high level concept is simply this: everything you do must engender trust. Anything you do that destroys trust has to be avoided. Which is one of the reasons why you can't say I'm a trusted advisor, because that's going to destroy trust, because that person is going to say, oh yeah, prove it to me.
Right.
No, don't do that. No. So the first, the R in RACE is relevance. And the idea here is that your conversation with them must be aligned with their needs. That's why we have to start off by knowing the customer, so that you know what to talk about and when to talk about it. And the reason why is because if you're not relevant, there's zero reason for the other person to develop trust.
Absolutely.
They don't need to trust you if you don't have anything that they're interested in. So the first aspect is you have to become somebody that they wish to trust. That trust is an important aspect of the relationship. So you have to find that relevance to them in the moment. And the relevance isn't about your product, it's about their need and desire for that product. And so your job is to figure out what are you doing? What kind of cool projects are you working with? What is the big opportunity that you're working toward? What is the big challenge that you're facing right now? All of those things are going to uncover the potential for you to be relevant, to offer them solutions or accelerators or insights or perspective, whatever they need in that moment to bring themselves closer to their solution. So relevance is the beginning.
Right. And there's a big difference between perceived relevance and questioned relevance. And when I say questions, the answer is in the questions that you ask, not that, they sell X widget to X people. I've done that before. They may have a completely different system. So it means you do have to invest time in that
Yes,
relationship. So,
indeed. Well,
all right.
otherwise you're just selling a product you're selling out of a catalog.
Right. Exactly.
The
And
bottom
anybody
two
can do
layers
that.
of this. Well, right, they can. So then the next level, the A in RACE stands for authority.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to illustrate that you have insights beyond their own expertise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a trusted partner if they already possess all the knowledge that you possess. Then you drop down to trusted vendor.
Right.
That
Exactly.
that doesn't help. So you have to provide thought leadership, and you have to become an authority on solving problems for their customers, or at the top level, the problems of their customers.
Right.
That's the place where you really start to connect, because they see a relationship with you as valuable to them and to their career.
So let me give an example for this, and
Do
just
it.
real quick, all right. And before I give that example, I want to quote the beloved soothsayer John Cougar Mellencamp, who said, "I fought authority, and authority always wins." Um, but I think the relevance to this is, I work with a customer that sells barcode scanners. If you've ever been in the hospital, they put a band on your handle, and they basically scan that to make sure they're going to cut the right leg off. They don't want to cut the wrong leg off, or put something in your arm, or give you something allergic. So the key thing is they're going to sell those to hospitals, right?
Mhm.
But the hospitals people that are in there, their clients are the ones that are the ultimate thing. So you have to think through, who does your customer sell to, and what is the thing that's on their mind to help your customer sell more of what they need. So in
Absolutely.
other words, if you can go to your customer and say, okay, in order to sell your customers, we have to think about the people sitting in the beds, and the fact that this thing will work from 10 feet away. And so you don't have to get right up in somebody's face to do the barcode. You can hold it back. So one of the advantages is it allows your staff to work faster, but provides more, security and more comfort to the end user. So they don't have to get poked and prodded and moved around as much. So if you can kind of build that case, right? Is that right?
Absolutely. The idea here is to solve the problem that other people haven't talked about.
Right.
And you're spot on. The idea here is that you can scan a barcode on a patient's wrist from 3 feet away. So you don't have to be in their space as you perform what is seen as an accounting function, not a therapeutic function.
Right. Exactly.
So
Hmm.
those are all very important. You're right, and there's a chain of it, right? You have to have the connection with the IT. You have to have the connection with the nursing staff. You have to have the connection with the patient. So look at the entire experience chain to identify the benefits and the
Exactly.
benefits of the benefits.
Right. So the authority comes to understanding that entire chain, just like you mentioned.
That's
So
exactly right.
I love
Beyond
that.
their expertise.
Right.
If
Exactly.
if you cannot provide them with new insights and epiphanies, you do not have thought leadership, and you're not going to be a trusted
Hmm.
advisor or a trusted partner.
Right. So, for example, if somebody's in the hospital wearing an Apple Watch, and Apple Watch has some kind of RFID thing, and they can actually stand across the room and use the person's Apple Watch to, have that code on there, that may be an added benefit that may make it even easier.
It could. The problem is the security. The reason why they have bands that have to be cut off is that once they get put onto that patient, that's positive identification.
Right.
Versus I can hand my Apple Watch to somebody else without that ID. So I like where you're going,
But no, that's the
and yet
authority side of things. Look at
that's
that.
that's that next level up, right? Is
Right.
understanding why we do it the way we do it.
Okay.
It
So
becomes
help
part of
me.
those insights.
So help me see the next part.
All right, C. Very good, my friend. I
Thank you.
love how you think. C actually has two components for this particular conversation. The first one is consistency. Trust is built by consistent behaviors over time. Predictability and consistency is part of the elements that create trust.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever read, I know you have, but if our listeners ever read Robert Cialdini's Influence the Psychology of Persuasion, they know that consistency is at the top of the list as far as a persuasive power.
Right.
Now, notice that in Cialdini's list of 6 elements, I think he now has added a 7th, that trust is not one of those things on the list.
Right.
Persuasion doesn't come out of trust.
Right. Exactly.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So in my
Hmm.
space, the consistency side of things is if you send out an email newsletter with 15 topics in it once a month that tries to reach everybody at the same time, you're only sending out 12 pieces of information and you're hoping that the person will basically giving them a knowledge buffet. You're hoping that the people will pick you out of that knowledge buffet.
That's
And that,
right. That's an
and
example of email throw up and show up and throw up.
right, exactly. Yes,
And
exactly.
and here's the reason why that's not going to work with the exception of maybe 5% of your population. It's because when we read email, our brains enter triage mode. What am I going to ignore? What am I going to pay attention to?
Hmm.
And if you throw more than one idea at a person in an email,
Right.
their triage brain is going to go, too much, too long, don't read,
Right.
next.
But consistency in that case is if you send out one email a week with one topic,
Yes.
people can scan it and say, okay, cool. And then if that same thing is sitting on social media and shows up in LinkedIn, and you say, wait a minute, I just saw that in an email, there's another one. And the next thing
Exactly.
you know, you're doing a video and you put that up there with the same concept, and maybe they
Yep.
see it on a different social media. Now that consistency of message in one small package, even though
Yes.
it sounds like you're bombarding somebody, it doesn't do that, right?
And indeed, and if you have seen my weekly emails that go out, they feature a photograph from my adventures
Mhm, mhm.
and extract an executive strategy lesson from those photographs. And yes, that goes out to my email list, and yes, it gets posted on LinkedIn, and yes, it goes to Facebook. And the idea is though that with a photograph, people go, "Oh, I saw that before." Yeah, all right. So I get that instant, quick recognition
Right.
that comes with a photograph that's tied to a specific concept versus just words. So if you're going to do this multi strategy, multi what do we call that? Multi vector strategy.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
then using a photograph can substantially accelerate the adoption of that, which creates that trust over time,
Right.
consistency.
Consistency and awareness. Okay, now I wanna be CC Rider. Could you explain the first C? What's the
Indeed,
second C?
indeed. So I just want to reiterate that consistency is about delivering the expected customer experience.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And the next one is commitment. This is a secret power tool,
Mhm.
and you have to do it at the right time. You don't do it early in the conversation. It has to happen towards the end of the conversation,
Mhm.
and that is to indicate your commitment to their commitment.
And commitment is one of those things in trust. I think that is so important, and talking to people and getting them to understand that, and again, it goes back to what I said before about you have to let the customer know that the most important thing is them being able to talk to their customers and generate more sales. So that commitment has to be solid in their mind, saying this person stands behind what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Is
Indeed,
that kind of where you're at?
absolutely. So what that means is you have to understand their commitment. You have to
Right.
understand what they're committed to, and then you have to be able to commit to their commitment. But that is what creates partnership.
Hmm.
If you're just a vendor, if you're just a trusted advisor, it doesn't mean that you're committed to their commitments. You're just committed to advising them, answering whatever questions they have. That's
Hmm.
different, very different
Right.
than the trusted partner, where you're committed to their commitments.
And by the way, The Commitments is a great movie and a great band. If you've never heard it, I suggest you get the album. It's
Indeed,
phenomenal.
I agree. It's absolutely worth it. I've watched it a number of times. It's always an enjoyable
One of my faves.
experience.
Has absolutely nothing to do with marketing and selling, but it does if you look at it in certain ways.
It's
But
actually it's about the relationship of band members and delivering a product to the market.
exactly.
There is a correlation here,
There is a correlation, which is awesome. Okay, so let's
and
let's
it is lovely. You just have to have a pint of Guinness to watch it. So
you do, oh, and it is yes, or yes, absolutely. But anyways, okay, so let's ease on down the
all
road.
right, and this is going to be just about right. I like this. So the E is execution. So once you've illustrated or you've made a commitment to their commitment, then we move into what's the next step, because trust is built through the execution component. It's cemented, let's put it that way. Trust is cemented through the effective and expected execution of what you've committed to.
Hmm.
And that's what sets up the next round. And it's really what allows you to grow your business. See, the challenge here is that if you want to do big ticket sales, if somebody's never done business with you, they're going to have a very hard time writing a 5, 6, 7, 8-figure check, because the risk associated with doing business with you is too high. They haven't come to the level of trust that reduces their perceived risk to the level where they feel confident risking resources, including their career, to do business with you. So the way that you do big deals is you increment into it. You'll do a deal that they can sign their authority to, and you're going to guarantee nothing's going to go wrong. You'll never lose a penny. I've got you covered. We're going to go. And once we've passed that gate, then you can move to the next level, where you might do a deal within their boss's signature authority. Because now you have trust with them and their boss, because they've seen what you can deliver. And then you deliver on that, and you create the trust with them and their boss's boss, because their boss's boss are now involved because the boss is involved. Then we move up to the signature level authority of their boss's boss. And so it's this stepwise entry into the trust up the food chain.
Right. And I want to throw one last E in there before we finish up, and that is it's experience. And I'm not talking about experiences and I've done this for a long time. It's the customer experience. It's the, it's the Disney-wide doing things, making people feel welcome and knowing what to expect and all those kind of things. I think part of the execution is the experience. And saying, here is where things are going to happen and what you can expect. So maybe you should triple it and call it, execution, experience, and expectations, because those three things, you have to match their expectations. You have to set the expectations. You have to give them an experience where they feel comfortable throughout it. And when you execute, you're living up to the promises that you made. So that's a lot of E's.
It's okay. But I think the point that you make is actually very clear and brings up a topic that we haven't talked about before, which is a trusted partner exhibits all of the characteristics of the 3 levels below them.
I love that.
They're still trusted advisors, in which case they know the customer. They're still trusted vendors, in which case they know the market. And they're also trusted products, which means that they know the product. The trusted brand, which means they know the product. And it's not like you leave those levels behind. You're adding, and each level that you add has an exponential, a geometric growth in the quality and value of the relationship.
All right, so we've been through millennia of topics, and it's a matter of fact, we broke this into 2 podcasts. So if you want to check it out, go to baconpodcast.com. You'll hear Mark's first part. You'll hear the second part. Go through and reiterate what are the 4 levels, and then reiterate what race means to you, not what I threw into your train tracks or your bicycle spokes.
No, you are just embroidering on my tapestry, my friend. So the 4 levels of trusted business levels are trusted brand, which is know the product. Trusted vendor, which is know the market. And at these 2 levels, it's all about the product and it's all about the hustle. The next level up is trusted advisor, this is where we start to move into know the customer. And then trusted partner, which is know the customer's customer. And at this level, it's all about customer knowledge, and it's about curiosity over hustle.
Right.
If you can convert your hustle energy into curiosity, you can make the ascension up to the top of this particular list. The way that we generate trust is, first of all, relevance. Without relevance, there's no reason for them to even invest in a trusted relationship. Next is authority. You have to illustrate that you know more about how to solve their problem or deliver what they're looking for than anybody else within their scope of field. Otherwise, you don't have any particular value. You just revert back to a trusted vendor, a trusted advisor, perhaps. So that's authority. The third level is consistency. The C next is consistency. You have to be consistent in everything that you do. Any inconsistency destroys trust. And then you want to illustrate commitment to their commitment. And and this is truly, my friends, this is the secret to becoming competition proof, which means that you have an advantage beyond the product.
Mm-hmm.
When you commit to the success of your customer, you can get by with a lesser product because they know that they will be successful. And then the E, the final E is execution, although I also like what you were saying, which is expectations. Managing expectations is the difference between a customer satisfaction and customer dissatisfaction. And then what was the other E that you said? It's
Experience.
There we go. Thank you. Experience. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The customer experience, which of course generates your brand.
Which is awesome. All right. So with that being said, my friend, we have hit the 11 o'clock hour. So I am going to say, if people want to follow your picture emails and learn your tip of the week, I'm assuming they go to bijaco.com.
They can certainly do that. Although, quite frankly, the best way to get a hold of me is to connect on LinkedIn. I'll preview this. My plan is to actually change company names here in the near future, and we'll have some very interesting podcasts once I do that because of the nature of my new focus.
Awesome.
And so find me on LinkedIn. It's Marks on LinkedIn.com, MARKS on LinkedIn.com. That'll take you straight to my profile. I'm Mark S.A. Smith. If you just type in Mark Smith, you're going to have to sort through lots and lots of entries. It's a common name.
Yeah, there's just a couple of them, really. I mean, there's really not too many Marks. There's just not enough Smiths in the world, as far as
not nearly enough. So once we connect, just say, hey, listen, I saw you in the Bacon Podcast. I saw you in the Bacon and Coffee Show, and I'll be glad to connect with you. And then I'll add you to the weekly email list. Or now that you'll get my LinkedIn feed, the photographs of the cool places that I see and the experiences that I extract.
It's awesome. Well, one of the things I got to tell you, man, is without this caffeine, I don't think we could have delivered so much stuff in an hour. Do you believe that how fast these hours go and how much stuff
they go so fast, and we cover, like you said, a millennial. 1,000 ideas. That's a lot of ideas.
It is. No, but but the bottom line is I think there's something in here for everybody, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. So, folks, we will see you again next time. Mark will be back on soon. I can't tell you the exact date, but it might be a couple of weeks. We'll see. But anyways, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again on the next Bacon and Coffee. Bye-bye, my friend.
Happy trails.